بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، نحمده ونشكره على هدايته، ونصلي ونسلم على سيدنا ونبينا خاتم الأنبياء وأشرف المرسلين محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين وصحبه المنتجبين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. قال الامام جعفر الصادق عليه الصلاة والسلام: ليس من شيعتنا من قال بلسانه وخالفنا في أعمالنا وآثارنا، ولكن شيعتنا من وافقنا بلسانه وقلبه واتبع آثارنا وعمل بأعمالنا، أولئك شيعتنا. Those who profess that they are Shias and followers of Ahlul Bayt, and yet there is a contradiction between what they claim and what they do, are not considered to be true followers. If one wants to know who are the true followers, one should look at the way they behave and their lifestyle, and that they are convinced and they follow Ahlul Bayt, not just word but in their heart as well. According to historians, either yesterday or today is considered to be the anniversary of martyrdom of our sixth Imam alayhi salatu wassalam, Imam Ja'far Al Sadiq salawatullah wasalam alayhi. One of the problems that we have with reflection on the life of Ahlul Bayt, that we tend to look at the life of each Imam in a narrow context. We discover Imam Hussein from Rajab 60th after Hijrah until the Ashura of 61 after Hijrah. We discover Imam Hassan only during the time of the peace with Muawiyah after the demise or the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wasalam alayhi. We discover Zainab salamullah alayha as within Karbala only. And the same thing goes with Imam Zain al-Abidin, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, and Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq. We really don't have a clear picture of the life of these Imams. If we were to consider, say, Imam Hussein salawatullah salam alayhi, that we pay so much attention to, 55 years or close to 56 years of life. How was these years spent? What did Imam Hussein do? What is the character of Imam Hussein? We really have no clue. The same thing goes with Imam Hassan. Imam Zain al-Abidin, the best that we want to understand is purely as Sahif al-Sajjadiyya, as somebody who was sick during Karbala, and when he went back to Medina, he simply spent the rest of his life praying, and that's it. And the result of those prayers are Sahif al-Sajjadiyya, that sometimes we read them, sometimes, not even often. If we don't read Quran that often, naturally Sahif al-Sajjadiyya we don't pay attention to. Imam Muhammad al-Baqir is the same thing. What do we understand from the life of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir? Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, again another unique Imam. Madhab al-Ja'fari, which is the juristical and theological school in opposing to what later on was considered to be the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, which is the four schools, is attributed to the life of Imam Ja'far Al Sadiq because of his hard work to establish this, the values of Ahlul Bayt, but projected through ahadith and other issues that became the foundation for Madhab al-Ja'fari. If we look at the life of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, there is a book written by Marhum Shaheed Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr regarding, he clearly asserts that all A'imma, they had clear singularity of goal, but different strategy and approach because of the fact that they lived in different circumstances, and those circumstances imposed on them the necessity to change the strategy. The goal was to preserve and protect Islam and to teach other people the values of Ahlul Bayt. That was the goal. But sometimes that was done through prayer, which is Imam Zain al-Abidin and the Sahifa Sajjadiyya. If we really spend some time looking at the commentary of Sahifa Sajjadiyya, we will understand how in depth Imam goes within the frame of dua into the values that the society had lost. This is one of, after the Karbala, Ahlul Bayt realized that the society has deviated from the right path to the degree that it wasn't possible within a short period of time to correct the society. So what was the policy or the strategy chosen? We need to start planting individuals that are critical thinkers, knowledgeable within the community, so these people, as we send them around, they become the instigators for building up a new community. And the concept of wikala that later on Ahlul Bayt around the life of Imam, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th and 11th Imam, they paid so much attention to, the beginning of it comes from Imam Zain al-Abidin. Imam Zain al-Abidin began a unique strategy. But he bought what we call slaves, taught them, educated them, and then freed them, gave them the responsibility to go around various parts of Islamic world and begin propagating the true values and knowledge of Ahlul Bayt. Why? Because the society, by the end of the life of Imam Hussein salawatullah salam alayhi, that they could stand in front of Imam Hussein, offer prayer, and yet accuse Imam Hussein that he's going to go to hell, clearly indicated that mentally had changed what we call the maskh in the Holy Quran, changed so much that it was no longer able to, within a short period of time, one could change it. So there are two things that became clear for Ahlul Bayt at that time. Imam Zain al-Abidin began to send these individuals around. There was a unique time which helped the propagation of values of Ahlul Bayt during the life of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir and Imam Ja'far al Sadiq, the political circumstances in which they lived in. Around the end of the life of Bani Umayyah, where they were in descendancy and weak, and early part of Bani al-Abbas, that they are still weak, they are not strong enough, and they are not completely in power. This gap provided enough space for Imam Muhammad al-Baqir and particularly Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq after the demise of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir to focus at least for nearly 30 years, or if not probably 25 years, propagating values of Ahlul Bayt around. One of the difficulties that they had, and they needed to lay the foundation, was the absence of what we call a political base. A number of people that have receptive heart, critical thinkers, knowledgeable, and yet they submit to the command of Ahlul Bayt that they could propagate Ahlul Bayt message. The absence of this clearly is evident when we have uprising during the life of Imam Ja'far Al Sadiq, and Imam never participate in any uprising. Zayd, his uncle, Zayd ibn Ali, the son of Imam Zayn al-Abidin, the brother of Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, had an uprising in Kufa. Imam, while verbally supporting the idea of standing up against injustice, he did not want to participate and be part of the uprising. Why? Because he knew he's going to fail. Why is going to fail? Committed individuals that they will stay committed and stand and fight were not there. And that's exactly what happened with Zayd in Kufa. Within 2 days, most people run away. The same thing, the incident in Karbala repeated itself. People ran away, and Zayd was captured and killed, and that was the end of his uprising. Nafs al-Zakiyya rises up in Medina. Imam packs up his family and moves out of the Medina, not to be around. Why? Again, Imam says that he is not prepared to be part of an uprising that you only do it with 250 people in Medina, ill-prepared, and then you want to change the whole political structure. There are instances in which people come to Medina and ask Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, why isn't he rising up against the injustice of either Bani al-Abbas or Bani Umayyah? One of the incidents is Sahl ibn al-Hasan, that comes from Khurasan, comes to Medina and meets with Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq and says, Ya ibn Rasulullah, why is it that although leadership is yours, but you are not prepared to rise up and defend your right to leadership? You have over 100,000 people in Khurasan that they are ready to follow you. Imam said, 100,000 of them? He said, yes. And you are one of those individuals? Yes, I'm the leader of this faction. He said, can you see that tannoor over there in the corner of the house, corner of the yard? Can you remove the cover and go inside? Sahl ibn al-Hasan removes the cover and sees fire. Says, Ya ibn Rasulullah, if I go inside the tannoor, I'm going to be burned. Imam says, do you think that I don't understand that fact? And yet I'm commanding you. Excused himself and wasn't prepared to do that. At the same time, Harun Makki, one of the disciples of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, walks into the house. Imam says, Ya Harun, you see that tannoor, open the door and go inside. Without any question. Removes the cover, goes inside. Sahl thought, well, that is the end of Harun. Imam asks Sahl, how many of those people that you have in Medina, in Khurasan, are prepared to submit to my command the way Harun did? Now go and open the cover and you see him. He opened the cover, Harun comes out, a little bit dusty, and nothing, no harm. He said, Ya ibn Rasulullah, none. There is nobody in Khurasan that would submit to the command of the Imam as much as Harun did. He said, do you think that I'm not aware of the reality of the situation, that I have the right to leadership? But how can I rise when I don't have even 5 individuals similar to Harun that would follow my command and my order. We see this after the demise of the Holy Prophet with regard to Amir al-Mu'mineen. He had only 4 or 5 people coming to support him. Imam Hassan, even his cousins went against him. Imam Hussein, when he moved out of Medina, there was a huge number. By the time he got to Kufa and Karbala, there were only 72 people left. So the notion, the absence of what we call political base, individuals that would submit to the command of Ahlul Bayt, understand the value of Ahlul Bayt, and submit to the command of Ahlul Bayt is critical for the uprising of the Imam. We are still waiting for the return of our living Imam. According to our tradition, we need 313 or 330 or 340 fully committed individuals. If they are available, Imam would come and lead them. Why is it that we have so far we don't have those numbers, the committed numbers? So this notion that somehow we call ourselves Shias, but we don't follow the command of Ahlul Bayt is one of those critical issues that repeatedly in ahadith, particularly Imam Ja'far Al Sadiq, Imam Kadhim, Imam Musa Al Kadhim, and Imam Muhammad Al Baqir, they talk about it. There is a hadith from Imam Musa ibn Ja'far that it's really breaks one heart. He says, if I turn those who claim to be our Shias and followers, I will only see those who pay lip service to us. And if I test even those who pay lip service to us, I will only, if I test them, they will deviate from the right path. And if I attempt to purify them from every 1,000 so-called claimers of followers of Ahlul Bayt, I might be lucky to have 1. The rest are what we call armchair Shias. That we call ourselves Shias, but as long as being Shia does not require and expect us to make a sacrifice and work hard for the goal and responsibility that we have. If you look at a hadith that we have, somebody goes to Imam Ja'far Al Sadiq and Imam Muhammad Al Baqir and asks, this is a hadith from Imam Muhammad Al Baqir, and Abi Ismail, قلت لأبي جعفر, which is Muhammad Al Baqir, جعلت فداك إن الشيعة عندنا كثير. There are a huge number of people that claim to be Shias. فقال فهل يعطف الغني على الفقير. Now, Imam is giving some characteristics of these Shias. يعطف الغني على الفقير. Do the rich are compassionate and merciful towards the poor and the needy. وهل يتجاوز المحسن عن المسيء. If somebody does something bad, the other people would forgive them for this shortcoming. ويتواسون, and they work together to balance society. فقلت لا. فقال عليه السلام ليس هؤلاء شيعتنا. These are not the true Shias. الشيعة من يفعل ذلك. The true Shias are the ones that are characteristic, they have a clear characteristic. Imam Ja'far Al Sadiq tells his disciple the few that he has. He says, go out with your lifestyle and your knowledge and everything else, show the values of Ahlul Bayt to others. So when they look at you, they say, yes, these are the students, these are the disciples of Ja'far ibn Muhammad. It makes our life very difficult. We all have a mission in this life. We are not here just to study, go back home and earn a living from 9 to 5, etc. Wherever we are, as Shias of Ahlul Bayt, we have a mission, a clearly mission, a goal and objective. The strategy that we choose will be different from one place to another, as the Imams did. Sometimes we act within taqiyya, as the Imam did. Sometimes we open, we come out. Sometimes we have a clear goal and a strategy to discharge our responsibilities. But we cannot just stay back and wait for the Imam to come and to change the lifestyle that we have. شيعتنا المسلمون لأمرنا. Our Shias, if you want to understand, those are the ones that submit to our command. الآخذون بقولنا. Whatever we say, they take and they practice. المخالفون لأعدائنا. They resist the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. فمن لم يكن كذلك فليس منا. If you don't do that, then you are not a Shia. And why was it necessary for the Imam during that time to talk so much about the parameters of who is in and out as Shia? Because of the chaotic nature of the life over there. Huge number of people claim to be Shias of Ahlul Bayt, but they never practiced it. Ghulat, the extremists, they claim that Ahlul Bayt are God. Imam fought with them and cursed them and removed them out. So what we really need, going back to the planting of critical thinkers, educated individuals that understand Islam and understand the value of Ahlul Bayt, and they take it upon themselves to propagate and become the mirror image of the values of Ahlul Bayt. These are the ones that we're looking these days. Our society is bereft of such individuals. We don't have them. This is why the youth are gone out of the path. The adolescents are in crisis. The older one, material has taken over, etc., etc. There are a number of ahadith clearly states that it's action which matters for the Shia, not words. Anybody can claim that they are Shias. لا تذهب بكم المذاهب فوالله ما شيعتنا إلا من أطاع الله. Don't think that there are diverse opinion and schools of thoughts and that might deviate you from the right path. The true Shia is the one that submits to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. First and foremost. And then naturally Ahlul Bayt and everything else. The reason why Al-Hukuma Al-Abbasiyya or Al-Hukuma Al-Amawiyya, Umayyad dynasty or Abbasid dynasty, they were able to sustain themselves, whether in Sham, Hukuma, the Umayyad dynasty, or in Andalus, in Al-Andalus, or Abbasiyya in Iraq. It's because the Shia, the true Shias, were only few that would stand up and defend Ahlul Bayt. And that is one of the legacies that we have to deal with. Started with Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, went into Imam Zayn al-Abidin, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, and ultimately reached the 8th, 9th, 10th Imam and 11th Imam, where they were reminding the Shias. The 11th Imam, Imam Hasan al-Askari salawatullah salam alayhi, says, no Imam before me had to suffer the way I suffered, not from the enemies, from my own Shias. If we believe, we only recently finished the month of Ramadan. We believe that on the night of the month of Ramadan, Laylatul Qadr, our a'mals are being presented to Imam, the living Imam. Or even further, every day, Ahlul Bayt, they receive our a'mals. What is it that they want to be proud of, the so-called Shias that we are? So I know that 2 meetings have already been scheduled, one for tonight, one for next week. I deliberately wanted to focus on the concept of who is a Shia and what are the characteristics of the Shia that inshallah comes later, which is the akhlaq of Shia. From Imam's point of view, a Shia are a group of individuals that submit to the command of Ahlul Bayt, understand the value of Ahlul Bayt, and turn those values into a lifestyle that they conduct on a regular basis. There are a number of ahadith that says our Shias never lie, never backbite, never cheat, never slander, never abuse somebody else, always humble, always subservient, conscious of the social responsibilities, etc., etc., etc. But are we? And if we are not, then we really need to start changing our lifestyle so that it fits the criteria and the parameters that our Imams have laid down for us to follow. And remember, if we want the Imam to come back between the entire Shia population, we need 330 proper individuals that would submit to the command of Ahlul Bayt. Let me give you one example. In 2006, I have done a huge amount of research in the 2006 war between the Israelis and the Lebanese. Israelis landed over 120,000 troops with all the equipments that they had. Facing them were, according to the Israeli admission, was only 5,500. And yet they were beaten. Why? Because there was a clear understanding of the mission and submission to the command of Allah. We go back to the earliest history of Islam, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, remember that I send malaika to help you and help these small numbers. 5,500 individuals, not equipped as well as the Israelis, yet they were able to beat the Israelis of 120,000 troops and kick them out. It can be done. Our history shows it. So don't think, how can 330 individuals change the world? Under the correct leadership, it can be done if we submit, if we are critical thinkers, if we have receptive heart, if we do everything only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we take our responsibilities seriously. Otherwise, we will just tumble on until something else happens. Let me stop here. If you have any questions, then inshallah next week we will talk about akhlaq and how Ahlul Bayt, particularly Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, Imam Ja'far al Sadiq and others, define the khulq and the character of a true Shia. What are these unique characteristics or ethical and moral principles that we have to observe in our life so that we become one of those individuals? Any questions?